welcome back to a special edition of the Deadly Podcast of Kung Fu, brought to you by the Villains Van, where myself, Justin Raymer, attempts to traverse the continuity of Marvel's most prolific martial artist in Iron Fist and Shang-Chi. If you want to keep up with the podcast, you can do so on social media platforms such as Twitter or X, Instagram, and Threads. Or you can keep up with myself over on X and Instagram. Now, this past week, we had the Iron Fist 50th anniversary special, which has all of us Danny Rand fans in a frenzy. It's kind of got the comic book community on fire due to a QR page after the end of the special, and that's kind of what I'm going to dive into here. I'm not going to talk about the issue as a whole. As I cover the books in continuity, I'm just going to say that even though there are stories that are out of current continuity in that book that take place, that would actually fit to where I'm at in the story of Iron Fist and Shang-Chi, which we are talking Iron Fist here. I'm going to push those aside and just kind of wait, because I love a good flashback. Comic books are full of flashbacks, so I'm going to wait. But what I'm really going to focus on is the story, Happy Birthday, Danny. Now, overall for this book, thanks to all the creative teams, I really enjoyed this book. I really want Chris Claremont to work on a story that's drawn by Kevin Eastman. After Kevin Eastman's cover on here, I think that would be fantastic. My guy, Herman Schultz, the Shocker, still gets no respect. I'm not surprised. The Heroes for Hire ad needs to be either an Easter egg or commercial in the MCU before Danny and Colleen and Misty and Luke show up. I thought that was funny. That's my favorite part of the book. If you like Frank Terry, please check out Godzilla Here There Be Dragons. Love his series going on right now. Hoping for a trilogy there. I also realized in this issue that Danny is pretty much getting his own Bat family. Who would have thought? I mean, it makes too much sense at this point. And the big thing is this QR code that everybody's been scanning. I've not done any of that with Marvel here recently. I know people were complaining about it, but that should have been in the book. It's important. And that's kind of what's got people a little outraged that they have to just go scan a QR code. But I get it. I mean, that's the business side of Marvel. You click on that QR code when it takes you to the website or wherever, they get money off that. I get it. I understand it. But I mean, if you would have just rearranged the stories in this book and that been the last final page, you could have put it after all of the books at the end that they're talking about the collections you can go trade to learn more about Danny and Lee and whatnot. You could have just placed it right at the end of that. Because a lot of people, they don't even look through those pages sometimes. You've been like, holy crap, this page is in this book. How did I miss it? And then you flip through all those pages in the back with all these storylines and boom, it's a surprise. But anyways, I want to focus on Happy Birthday, Danny, which is written by Jason Liu, in which we see the return of Chi-Lin possessing the original Razor Fist and the death of Danny Rand at his hands. And I'm not going to talk about just the story, it's just my theory about what we're going to go on and what we see at the end of the book, which is the QR code page, which is weeks later. We see Danny Rand's headstone, and we see a candle which looks like is blown out by the wind, maybe. I'm going to assume maybe a spirit, but we see a skeletal glowing hand which looks to seem like it has skin forming back on it, burst through the ground. Now, in comics, we all know the golden rule is no one stays dead outside of Uncle Ben. And Danny has been through all this before, but this time I think it's a bit different. A lot of the Iron Fist fans think it's been a bit different. So fire up your Marvel Unlimited app and let's take a trip through some Iron Fist history to lay my theory out. So first, we're going to talk about the story, The Mortal Iron Fist, which took place in the Immortal Iron Fist run. Make sure you get those straight. The Immortal Iron Fist run, all like 27 issues. There's a story called The Mortal Iron Fist in there. And this is where the villain in question, Chi-Lin, first appears. This is number 17, and he's the focus point of that 4-part story. And throughout the history of Iron Fist, we learn that this demon possesses a mortal on Earth and tracks down the chi of whichever Iron Fist is alive and kills them in their 33rd year of life, which we know in this story he is defeated by Danny, his essence dissipates, and he even mentions in Happy Birthday, Danny Rand that it's his 34th birthday. Maybe that's just like a Sabretooth beating up Wolverine on his birthday thing that they were kind of working with back there. But anyways, there's got to be a reason why he just went and killed Danny Rand. after his 33rd birthday. Maybe it just didn't mean anything. Maybe that was a joke for this Chi-Lin villain. Next would be Phantom Limb. A lot of people are talking about Phantom Limb right now. In this 6-part story, there's another demon, the Mo Wang, attempts to claim Danny's body so it can conquer the world. After taking his chi and his right hand, which we see the right hand get severed in the story, Chi-Lin's right hand gets severed. The right hand is usually the hand of the Iron Fist. The demon sends Danny to the Hells, where he's from, and we know there are thousands of Hells in Marvel. The book even references this. While there, he discovers he is condemned for sin, but this allows him to steal some dark chi. After making a deal with the Demon King there, Yama, Danny lets Mo Wang possess him once he arrives back on Earth, only to trap the demon inside so it can be sent back to Hells to receive punishment. Those are the 2 big stories in question. So my theory for all this is, how does this all play together with what we've seen in the 50th anniversary issue in the QR code? So my theory is Chi-Lin is an assassin for Chi-Yu's army, which is the god of war, the big destroyer demon that we see in Swordmaster. And Chi-Lin's task has always been to kill the Iron Fist, so Kun-Lun wouldn't have a protector when the demon horde invaded the city to find the 3rd tomb of Chi-Yu. Makes a lot of sense once you start putting things together. Now, with the lineage of the mantle, we are uncertain how many Iron Fists Chi-Lin has killed, but the mortal Iron Fist story, Chi-Lin hides within the corpse of Kuai Jufan, and when his body is at Kun-Lun, the demon decides to emerge and attempt to feast on the egg of the dragon to keep its chi for itself, to feed its chi. We just know that's what this thing is here for. Now, with the Iron Fist dead, this would prevent the dragon from maturing and defending the city from Chi-Yu's demon invasion, as well as not empowering a new Iron Fist. That invasion is currently taking place in continuity. We've seen that in the end of Volume 6 of Iron Fist with Li Lin and his brother showing up. And as of the Axe one-shot with Iron Fist, we know that it's still taking place, because that was a part of the story as he meets up with White Fox at the end of it. So, why does Chi-Lin kill Danny after he's turned 34? He doesn't have the chi, but he did possess the dark chi during Phantom Limb. I would assume that both the Heart of the Dragon and the Sword of Fu Zai, Lin Li has power that scares both Chi-Lin and Chi-Lu. Isn't it weird that they kind of have the first beginning of a name? But anyways, something would be needed to combat both of that, and wouldn't Chi-Lin know of something like that, being a demon of hell and dealing with the chi of the Iron Fist? Now, in Happy Birthday Danny, Danny himself tells Chi-Lin he should have stayed in hell, which I'm assuming that's where he went when he was defeated and his essence dissipated in the mortal Iron Fist story. So, here's what I'm thinking. I think it once ruled the Chamber of Mirrors that Danny was sent to in Phantom Limb. When the first Iron Fist was born, Chi-Lin left those hells in that chamber on Chi-Yu's orders to hunt down any Iron Fist, leaving Mo Wang to claim the chamber for himself. So why do I think that Chi-Lin ruled that particular part of the hells? In the Mortal Iron Fist story, Chi-Lin communicates through mirror reflections to Zhao Qian, its human host. Being the master of the Chamber of Mirrors, he would have knowledge on how to communicate through mirrors to other dimensions. Makes a lot of sense, in my opinion. And we see this happen a lot throughout the Mortal Iron Fist story. He's always looking through a reflection in the mirrors in his apartment, some of the glass mirrors you see out in New York, and he's always communicating with his human host. So to me, that makes a ton of sense. But once defeated in the story, Chi-Lin's essence went back to the Chamber of Mirrors, and later, when Danny meets his dark reflection and takes its chi, he's aware of it. This would allow the demon to hear Yama make the deal with Danny to return Mo Wang, and once he knew that Danny died, he would return to the hells to be sentenced again for thievery. Chi-Lin resurrects Razor Fist to become his host. That could solve that years-long mystery. We don't know how the original Razor Fist has returned. He's only been around in a couple issues. To do his bidding when the time is right. So, the demon kills Danny after he takes over Razor Fist and possesses Danny's body so it can merge with the dark reflection in the Chamber of Mirrors, which will allow it to harness the dark chi that Danny once had. This would make Chi-Lin now more powerful to face Li-Lin before he can find a way into Kung Lun and stop his brother from resurrecting Chi-Yu. Makes sense to me? Does it make sense to you? Hopefully. Now, all of us fans are thinking Phantom Limb. It's important with the QR page that we are all seeing, but what really caught my attention is the Lin Lee story in the back of Daredevil Volume 7, which is number 11, Legacy number 659. I've never read that. Just kind of being honest, I've kind of just skipped it. I read a lot of comics. Most people that love comics read a lot of comics. And I just kind of skipped it. It was a short story. Didn't think it would be important. But I was wrong because I just went on this big reading spree as I read the anniversary issue. In that issue, there's two generals of Chi-Yu, and they call Daredevil Gwai Lu, or a devil man. In Cantonese, that's the correct definition for the pronunciation, the meaning of the word, but it could also be a racial slur, and that word got me thinking, wow, where have I seen that before? Danny is referenced as that by Mo Wang in Phantom Limb quite often, but he says Gwai Lo, or Ghost Man, without a U at the end of the word. The word is spelled Gwailou in the Daredevil backup, but there is no U in Phantom Limb. So, Ghost, as I found out, kind of doing a little research, is a common mistranslation for Gwai instead of devil. Now, Danny goes on during this conversation and replies he's been called a white boy before. I mean, he does run around with Harlem and whatnot, Luke Cage back in the day, and I'm sure stuff like that did happen. But anyways, I'd also learned that after World War II, Gwailu became used as a Cantonese racial slur for Westerners. So it's kind of interesting that there's that tie there that really kind of brings Phantom Limb into what we're seeing. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. The skeletal fist, we know that Danny lost his hand in Phantom Limb. He just lost his hand now. The Chi kind of formed the Phantom Limb, the hand that we've seen. And I think that's pretty cool. Now, there's a clearly connection there because why? Jason Liu wrote Happy Birthday, Danny. He also wrote the backup for Daredevil with Lin Lee. So there's a connection there that has to be made, and I don't think that anybody's going to ignore that. It's too clear and it's too obvious to dismiss, especially with the Gwai Lao word being used and him referencing the fact that this is its real meaning, and then when you look it up and you look at Phantom Limb, it's used for the racial slur or a misinterpretation. I love that. I think that's great. Now, am I right about this? Who knows? Both those stories seem to be clearly important to the future of both Danny Rand and Lin Lee. If you want to read them, they are the Mortal Iron Fist in the Immortal Iron Fist run 17 through 20, and Phantom Limb, which is a 6-chapter digital exclusive from Marvel that's been collected into 3 issues on the Marvel Unlimited app. But if you're wanting that physically, it's only in trade paperback, which is kind of sad. But hey, I know all of us Iron Fist fans probably own that. So I'm sure, as we all are, we'll see Misty, Colleen, and Luke go on this seek and destroy mission for Danny's killer. Because, I mean, we didn't even see a funeral. Maybe that's going to show up in another issue. Who knows? We just go straight to a few weeks later in the gravestone. We know that with the original Razor Fist being involved, and he's already ran into Shang-Chi once, that the Master of Kung Fu will show up in this story and somehow get involved. I would like to see a Dark Chi Danny facing off with Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, the comic book versions of the Ten Rings. I think that would be super, super cool. But what I'm hoping happens in the end of this, and I think a lot of us Iron Fist fans, is at the end the sword will be made whole, Lin Lee becomes Sword Master again, and Danny asks for the Chi of the Dragon instead of taking it so he doesn't get marked as a thief and get sent to hell when he dies the next time. Because we're learning with Lin Lee that all of this is connected. The term's been used quite a few times between the story of Chi-Yu and Kung Lun, and that you're supposed to ask for the power of the dragon instead of taking it, and that's what would make Danny a thief and send him to hell. So hopefully this will be some type of redemption for Danny Rand. But if you want to discuss all this, it's been going on social, especially over on Twitter X. You can follow a couple of these Iron Fist podcasts that I kind of keep in contact with, and we kind of chat about things. That is at I Am Iron Fist number 23. That's at Iron Fist Podcast. It's at Rand's Iron, at Iron Fist on ebooks, and at Daily Iron Fist. And you can keep up with a lot of Iron Fist content there if you want. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I've been Justin Raymer for the Deadly Podcast of Kung Fu. If you like my music, check out Kuro's song Rushing Tiger over on SoundCloud or on YouTube. If someone's giving you grief, make sure to call 1-555-BUST-ASS. But in the end, guys, remember, support your local comic book shops, support your favorite podcast, and keep reading comics, guys.